đại nghĩa sĩ tân dân chủ, hỡi các anh chị em máu thịt Việt Nam, chúng ta do dân tộc mà hình thành, vì dân chúng mà đấu tranh. Đứng dậy này, truyền cho đến mãi mãi muôn muôn về sau, là màu mỡ cho đất đai, là kết tụ của tiếng Việt, là tự hào, là di sản cho con cháu. Tinh và hồn luôn luôn cùng sông núi. Sống thì phải cho lẫm liệt, mà thác cũng phải đáng tự hào, bất khuất và hùng anh.
Giang sơn biến toàn dân tham chiến, đồng một lòng lửa tiến kiêu hùng, đập tan sông lược mạnh đông, gái trai giữ vững non sông muôn đời. Xương thịt nát mỉm cười chín suối, hồn hăng say tiếp nối hy sinh. Sông oanh liệt chết oai linh, lưu hương bất khuất vang danh xa gần. Vì tổ quốc vong thân đáng trọng, xác thịt tan danh sông dân thờ. Voi hùng chết để cặp ngà, hùng thiêng xa bẫy nhưng da vẫn còn. Lòng tượng kính hương hồn liệt sĩ, làng cúi đầu quyết sẽ noi gương. Muôn người dâng nén tâm hương, cầu hồn siêu thoát hằng thương giống noi.
Yes, I'd like to introduce the 4 representatives of Provisional National Government of Vietnam who are selected as 4 heroines of Vietnam, are honored to read the speech of Prime Minister. I'd like to introduce representative of Provisional National Government of Vietnam from London, Ms. Lê Han. Second is Brigadier of Provisional National Government of Vietnam from Westminster, California, Kelly Jiu Thanh Hoa from Westminster. The third
Prime Minister Dow Minh Quang. Commemoration of the ARVNJ June 19, 2018. On behalf of the Provisional National Government of Vietnam, we would like to present to you the following topic. The meaning of the ARVNJ June 19, which we celebrate today. Dear distinguished guests and dear friends, one of the most popular heritage songs extolling the majestic beauty of our fatherland and the unbroken spirit of our people with a song entitled Vietnam, a Brilliant Pearl of the Extreme Orient. Composed in 1945 by Hung Lan, a Vietnamese musician of the last century. This beautiful song was composed of 12 verses, of which the two introductory ones were Vietnam, a brilliant pearl of the extreme orient. Vietnam, the ancient homeland of fairies and dragons. These two verses reminded Vietnamese people of the characteristic of the origin of their culture as well as the wonderful beauty of their fatherland, which had been founded more than 1,000 years ago and protected from many attempts of northern invasions. This country was transformed later into a precious heritage by their ancestors. The talented composer Hung Lan ended this song with the two final verses calling for the loyalty of the Vietnamese people towards their homeland in spite of the risk of sacrifice. Even if our body should be destroyed into pieces, to be buried in our horse's skin at the frontiers, we, as soldiers, would pledge our honor of loyalty to serve unto the last breath our beloved country. With the last verses, the artist Hung Lan wished to awaken the invincible spirit of the two sisters strong in their fight for independence. In this view, every young man, in response to the sacred call of their ancestors, had to march to the frontiers to fight against the enemy. And the ultimate wish to each combatant was to sacrifice himself to the battlefield so that his body would be buried in his horse's skin, i.e., fate of the warrior. Based on the Vietnamese ancestors' unbroken spirit, spreading all over the world, the US President Obama on 24th May 2016, before an audience of more than 2,000 Vietnamese students at Meeting National Convention Center in Hanoi, reminded them of the national figure of the 10th century, Trung Kiệt, through the heroic poem entitled Mountains and Rivers of the Southern Country. This poem was considered as the first declaration of independence of Vietnam.
In his speech, President Obama also added, "The future of Vietnam is decided by the Vietnamese people." In other words, it means that the future of Vietnam is not decided by the Vietnamese Communist Party. And on November 10, 2017, President Donald Trump, in his speech at APEC, Da Nang, Vietnam, also recalled the Vietnamese young generation and the leaders of the Vietnamese Communist Party, acknowledging the heroism of the two sisters Chương against the invasion from the north. The speeches of the two U.S. presidents concerning American interests in Indo-Pacific in general and Vietnam in particular explained to us that the policies of the U.S. government from the past until now have been for peace and cooperation between countries, but not for war, which has been wistfully exploited by Ho Chi Minh and the Vietnamese Communist Party through their propaganda during the American War. Indeed, following the heroic examples of their ancestors, such as the two sisters Trưng, Lý Thường Kiệt, Trần Hưng Đạo, and another unknown heroes, the Army Republic of Vietnam soldiers have sacrificed their life to protect the country from the communist invasion during the 20 years of war, 1955 to 1975. This was the case of the Army Republic of Vietnam generals have heroes as his colleagues committed suicide, as well as that of another unknown soldier at the force of South Vietnam on April 30th, 1975. In order to help us, and especially the young generation of understand the history of the creation of the ARVN. Let's go back to the past, i.e. the history of the South Vietnam over more than half a century ago. In fact, through the referendum organized in 1955, Emperor Bảo Đại was dethroned and was replaced by President Ngô Đình Diệm, who founded the First Republic of Vietnam. President Diệm changed the name of the National Armed Forces of Vietnam into the Armed Forces of the Republic of Vietnam to counter the threat of communist invasion. President Diệm have reorganized and enforces the South Vietnamese armed forces during the years of governing the country. President Yin has transformed the RVN into military power by the creation of many infantry divisions, special forces, paratroopers, and marine units, etc. At the same time, President Yin divided South Vietnam into 4 strategic regions. The security of each of them was under the command of an armed force. The Army Republic of Vietnam officer was equally promoted according to their merits. However, the ambition of certain of them was of no limit, so that they very easily bright. On November 1st, 1963, a group of them, led by General Yu Van Minh, a pro-communism general, set up a coup d'etat, assassinated President Yu, and overthrew the first Republic of Vietnam.
Since the fall of the First Republic of South Vietnam, The country passed through a period of political instability because of armed forces of the Republic of Vietnam. Generals tried to overthrow each other for power. In order to stabilize the political situation of the country, on June 19, 1965, the Armed Forces of the Republic of Vietnam Military Council was established and decided to dissolve the National Assembly. Then, it set up the National Leadership Committee led by General QUÍC and the Central Executive Committee led by General QUÍC. On April 1st, 1967, the National Leadership Committee promulgated the new Constitution. By the general election of 1967, General QUÍC was elected president who founded the Second Republic of Vietnam. Since then, the date, June 19th, has been named the Armed Forces of the Republic of Vietnam Day, in honor of the day when the Armed Forces of the Republic of Vietnam came to power. This day was also an occasion to pay a tribute to the Armed Forces of the Republic of Vietnam soldiers for their achievements and the sacrifice of their lives to protect the country from communist invasion. However, since the Vietnamese Communist General Uprising of 1968, the military, political, and economic situation of South Vietnam became more and more deteriorated. While the armed forces of the Republic of Vietnam bitterly suffered from the cut of U.S. military aid, the North Vietnamese troops on the country received a greater number of sophisticated weapons and ammunition from Russia and Chinese and Communist China. In this way, on the battlefield, the power balance was obviously on the communist side. Therefore, the armed forces of the Republic of Vietnam troops began to lose the control of a major part of their territory. So, on April 21st, 1975, President Thieu was forced to resign and give way to President Trần Văn Cư, who governed for only a few days and was replaced by General Dương Văn Minh. This pro-communist general unconditionally surrendered to the North Vietnamese troops on April 30th, 1975, which marked the end of the war. By the evacuation on April 30th, 1975, some South Vietnamese troops and other politicians were resettled in the United States. They were joined later to wave of both people and tried to set up the South Vietnamese government in exile with the aspiration of overthrowing the communist regime in Vietnam, but their effort led nowhere.
In short, today's 19 June 2018 is the time for us to recall the heroic periods of the Army Republic Vietnam before 1975. On this occasion, we would like to appeal to all the Communist Party members to quit their communist ideology and to return to the national common sense in order to work with us on the re-established peace to our beloved Vietnam. We really need your sincere collaboration to eradicate it in priority the nightmare handed down by Ho Chi Minh, who had been assigned by the Communist International to commit genocide to our people during both Indo-Chinese and American wars. At the same time, we would like to call on our former Army Republic of Vietnam, generals and officers to join the Provisional National Government of Vietnam, conducted by Prime Minister Dow for the cause of freedom and the vanquishing of the oppression of the Vietnamese people, to save our country from the threat of Chinese invasion. We have already heard of your task about your desire to serve restoring the Republic of Vietnam, but we think that your word should be put into practice. We would like also to call on all former military cadet soldiers of Vũng Tàu Military School to join us in this difficult struggle for the eradication of the communist regime in Vietnam. All of you have demonstrated your ability to fight against the Việt Cộng at Vũng Tàu on the last day of the fall of South Vietnam, even when you were still very young. So we wish all of you to give us your hands to rebuild together our country and to restore the traditional of the Vietnam young cadet soldier for the generation to come. We would like to call on all former students of the National VIểT School to join us for the uprooting of the communists in Vietnam. Your generation and even that of your parents have enjoyed the privileges from the Republic of Vietnam. In particular, the first republic under the government of President Diem. Let's work together for the annihilation for the communist regime, and we shall restore the heroic spirit of President Diem, whose pride and loyalty were expressed by the following verses. Protecting fatherland with a peaceful mind and loyalty. Sacrificing our life is to accomplish the duty towards our country. For this reason, we call on the eagerness and the courage of our former military cadets, soldiers, and former students of the National VIểT School as well to join us in this decisive fight against the communists in order to restore peace and democracy for the new Republic of Vietnam. This is the last chance we cannot let pass away. If you are still attached to our beloved country, you should give us a hand at least by participating in the referendum organized by the Provisional National Government of Vietnam, so that we may have a strong voice before the United Nations to demand the eradication of the Vietnam communist regime, a sympathetic and godless world. May God bless you all and all Vietnamese people. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. That was beautiful. It is time to present you a very special number for this evening. It's partial art performed by Chương and Miss Kim Hoàng Lê and Miss Tuyết Đỗ. And the song is called Dòng Máu Lá Hồng. song is about how courageous our ancestors are and how we are proud by only 2 words. And those 2 words are proud to be a part of Vietnam. And at this time, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce a very special guest tonight, another VIP. Please approach the podium, Mr. Thomas Gabriel, interpreter, political confidence.
So I thought the night was over, we had the dessert, and enjoy myself, and what a great privilege it is to be in the presence of the President of Vietnam and the people of Vietnam. And I thank you for the opportunity through my friend Jack and everything that arose from all this. It's like I got the message, I think, on Thursday it was? Yeah. And I made a phone call. The main thing, and that's the main thing I was involved with before President Trump came involved in America was evil outside the United States, to come against the child trafficking, to come against the widows and orphans, and that was my main heart. And when I had the privilege to basically get involved with another guy named Steve Klein, who's an intel worker. He's going against the local child trafficking and all this different stuff. And I step on a lot of toes, so I'm not really that popular because I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to basically make things right, you know? And I'm working together with the right kind of people. So, anyways, it's a privilege to be a part. And like I said, God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. And before I introduce our next speaker, our Honorable Prime Minister told me to say this to everybody tonight. It's been a long night and it's almost 11:15, but yet everyone is still sitting here enjoying the program. And that shows your support and your love, not only to our Honorable Prime Minister as an individual, as a leader, but to the whole congregation of the Provisional National Government of Vietnam as a whole. So on behalf of Honorable Prime Minister Nguyễn Phương and our congregation, we thank you for your support and your love. It means a lot to us. Thank you. I'd like to invite Mr. Chương to approach the podium for your speech.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Phương and delegate, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about is our voting system. That our government is based on voting is our governance of everything, right? So we develop a system to keep track of the voting that we collected all over the world. This system is a web-based that everybody can enter anywhere in the world. So, and we collect that result here. So, in our system, we develop into 3 categories. The first is, let me go to the The first one is we call a basic. So a basic register of the voters that will include the address, the name, phone number, and an identity, either a driver license or whatever, like other countries might not use the driver license, but at least have one of the identities so that we can do something like, it not be able to duplicate. So that is what we intend to do. That's why we must have one of the form of the government ID. And the second category will involve in financing with the government. So the second one, we will issue either a basic card, identification, or a VIP card, that is a highest credit limit. So the second one, we will ask at least a passport. So because we are dealing with the world, so passports is the only means that everybody must have. Okay. The third category is the more like a career application to the government. So more like a delegate. Everybody has to go through this. So all the information we must have, like working history, whatever that a resume can be. So that is the third category. And we keep all of that in our record. We even have a face-up Ho Chi Minh picture on it, when you sign with our government. So that is a main thing that we're looking for, because a face-up Ho Chi Minh picture, that is the meaning of this government existence. To summarize, this is a security, how we develop the security to this system, that we ensure that no hacker. Okay, so we embedded the latest hardware and software encryption, and of course we only use secure protocol. We protect from ATE. ATE being advanced invasion technology. So that is the hacker that they're using all over the world. So we prevent all of that. Even the computer that uses it, when they click on that program, on that app, it automatically protects that computer. So no one can hack it while the person is working on it. That is the GUI that the user at the moment, he click on that, it will protect. To summarize, since we deployed this, because this system, we did some training. So a lot of users out there, we are right now under the training program for all the people that enter into the system throughout the world. Only the last 3 months that we deployed, and we get about 25,000 right now that have been entered. But it's going to be increased exponentially in the next few months. As far as we train a lot of users out there that can enter, then you see that rocket high. We will make it a lot easier that anybody can go to our webpage and enter by themselves. That will be the next step that I'm working on it. So that once that released, then it will be a lot easier. Okay, so that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you for your demonstration, Mr. Cheatham. It is my honor to introduce our last speaker of the night. Please welcome Mr. Steve Crummy.
Would you like to have the title last speaker of the night? Is the slide up?
Could you turn on the microphone, sir?
How would you like to have the title of last speaker of the night? Is the slide on? Please. So while that's booting up, President Dow and Ambassador Irving, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve Crummy. I live in Boston, Massachusetts, which is more liberal than California, if you can believe that. I say that for you, sir. I'm also the chairman of a company called FRIGA that you heard Frank allude to earlier. FRIGA stands for Freedom Global Abundance. That's what it stands for. We have a philanthropic purpose in life, which is to emancipate the 2.5 billion people in the world that have no access to financial services. So that's our mission. Is the slide up? No. Okay, it's coming. So we're partnering with the Third Republic of Vietnam to provide an ecosystem that will address the financial exclusion of most of Vietnam's citizens. I read a recent Ernst & Young report about, they compared every economy in the world. The good thing about Vietnam is 84% of the citizens have access to cell phones. That's fantastic, that really is. The bad news is 70% have no access to banking, which is ridiculous. The other bad news is the gross domestic product per capita in Vietnam is $1,365 US. That's awful. Frankly, that's awful. So with our system and with the cooperation of the Third Republic of Vietnam, we're going to help increase the gross domestic product of Vietnam. While we're waiting on the slide.
It's ready, sir.
Okay, thank you. So the first, I can't see, but the first slide, there's a picture of President Dow and a crypto coin. Is that the slide we're looking at? Not yet. Okay, thank you. So, just to make this simple, the way we work, we develop a lot of applications. Point of sales terminals, CRM systems, marketplaces, mobile apps. Think of a point of sales system for a small business in Vietnam. It's a very small business. They have the ability now to be in the e-commerce world. They can actually now have a point of sale terminal and they can market their goods over the internet. That was never possible before for most people in Vietnam, I'm sure. And what happens is all these applications that are used throughout the world generate revenues. And these revenues all go back to the people that use the system. All of the revenues go back to the people that use the system. Our company takes a small percentage to cover overhead, but most of it goes to the citizens. So as revenues are being generated, our algorithm slices it to every member of the FRIGA system worldwide. And if you sign up tomorrow, if all of you go back tonight, not tonight, tomorrow you sign up for this, you will see within a week some money that's in your account. You're going to wonder where that came from. It came from because you're part of a global system that's symbiotic in nature where everybody shares in the profits. So the one thing that happens is the citizens of Vietnam will start to see real fiat currency, real money. Fiat currency is real money. And as that money grows, they also will start to see crypto coins with President Dow's picture on. This is a virtual coin. You've heard a lot about crypto coins. Some are very dangerous. This particular one has an underpinning, the money I just talked about before. That's an underpinned value to the crypto coin, which means the coins are not speculative. They are of real value. So the citizens of Vietnam will wind up with some fiat currency in their digital account. They will wind up with crypto coins in their digital account. And they'll be able to take that to a bank in Vietnam. If they don't have an account, they'll have enough now to open a bank. And they certainly can take it and put it on a debit card with the bank in Vietnam so they can buy coffee and things like that. This system is up and running. It has a few things we still have to fix, but it's almost ready to go. But the way to think about this is we want to bring, as I said before, financial independence. So the more value in an account, we plan to do a technical term API to the local banks in Vietnam, so you can now transfer the money from Friga into your bank account. Frank said earlier, if you lived in the US or anywhere, and you were on our system, and you wanted to send Vietnamese dong to a relative in Vietnam, you can do that for no charge. If you wanted to exchange currencies, that is go from dong to pounds or dollars, there is a 3% charge. I guess that's just typically what it is for exchange fees. So that's the first point we want to make. It's underlying value of a currency, and it's also cryptocurrency. Now, if we go down the slides a little bit further, you'll see, on the third slide, if you will, sir, you'll see that one of the money makers for us, and therefore the citizens, is, if you think about it for a minute, companies like Amazon and eBay, they can't do business with you unless you have a debit or credit card. We've already said that 70% of the people in Vietnam don't have access to debit or credit cards. So what happens here is we have a marketplace where people can use our system to go to eBay, and they go to Amazon, and they buy, and we get a percentage of that commission that we can spread across the whole Friga network. We think that will be a pretty significant thing for the citizens of Vietnam. As we go to the next slide, all of this has to be done legally and above board. We are regulated by the Financial Control Authority of the United Kingdom. That's where our company is headquartered. The FCA is just like the SEC here in the United States. You have to do it all by the book. No speculation, no money laundering. So when you sign up, it's all you need is your email and your phone number. When you do that, and money starts to appear in your account, you have to go through a simple one-step process called Know Your Customer. It's a legal requirement. And as it builds up more, you have to do an anti-money laundering questionnaire. And I will include a photo. So everything is done by the control of the UK Financial Control Authority. So you cannot take cash and try to wire somewhere around the world. It doesn't work that way, because that is something we don't get involved with. It's currency that we do. So the whole legalization of this is above board. It's backed by the Financial Control Authority, and I think that's a thing for you all to know, because there's a lot of horror stories about crypto coins that you've all read about. You've probably invested in some of them yourself. Be careful. This is one of the few that has an underpinned value to it. And then the last piece of this is, I think it's the next slide, sir. We have a mobile app almost ready. President Dao's picture will be on that mobile app. He will be able to communicate to 84% of the Vietnamese citizens because they have cell phones. I think it's a terrific way to communicate.
The best part, what the communists can't do.
Shut it off?
Yes.
We're
They'd
not
have to
involved.
shut down the whole Wi-Fi of the country. They'd have bigger riots right now, generals, than they do over there already.
I think you're right. I'm not a politician. And then the last piece that on the system, and I want to say something else before I get off the stage, is that if you look at the last slide here that I hope is up, you'll see that Friga.world is our website. And obviously we're prominent on that website. But if you look at the very next button next to us, if it's up on the slide, it's the Third Republic of Vietnam. So of all the partners we're going to have, and all the vertical markets we're going to have, the Third Republic of Vietnam is the second button on our website. So when people hit that, they go to register. When they hit that, they go to their own site. But it's going to be a lot of free advertising, which I think is going to make it easy for people to sign up. And the key is to get people to sign up with email and with cell phones. So it's late at night. All I'm saying to you is this is a joint effort between us and the Third Republic of Vietnam. The system is almost ready to go. It's not futuristic. It's almost ready to go. There's a few things we have to do, particularly the banks in Vietnam. We've got to work with them. If they're state-owned, it may be a problem. We have to use other, but we'll figure that out. And over time, if the GDP of the Vietnamese citizens is $1,365 US, that has to be raised at least by double digits, by 10 or 15%. It has to be. They have the math. The more people that use the system, the more money flows through the system, the more crypto coins go to the citizens, the more they can put into banking accounts, the more they can open banking accounts they didn't have before. And the cost to Vietnam for this is zero, because we make our money also, as I explained before, when all the traffic is through, we pass it along, we pull a little percentage back for ourselves. So we will enter an agreement, and we'll get this started. But I think it's a terrific way to communicate to the citizens of Vietnam that, look, there's going to be a new president in town, and he's going to do things that are going to make you feel good about your economy, because when 70% can't get to a bank, and when the GDP is $1,365, that's not an economy. People can't survive on that anymore. It's ridiculous. So, my last statement is, those of you that were in the desert yesterday with me, and a lot of you were, it was an interesting day. I've never been out in the desert. But I said something there, and I'm going to end it by saying it here again. So forgive me for those of you who heard it before, but there's a lot of new people in the room. I've been around the block. I'm older, you can tell. I've been in thousands of meetings. I probably have been in tens of thousands of meetings. I've met one-on-one with Steve Jobs. I've met one-on-one with Bill Gates. I'm not bragging. That's not important. What's important is I know a good meeting when I see one, because I've seen tens of thousands of them. So yesterday, it's 90 degrees. There's no air conditioning. There's flies all over the place. There's dust all over my shoes and sport coat. And I looked in the room, and I saw 40 or 50 people. And I said, why are they there? They're passionate. They're dedicated. They're loyal. You just have to be in the room to see it. You can see it here tonight, too. And the answer, after a while, became very clear to me. It's because of President Dow, because they're loyal to him, because of what he stands for. And I will tell you, if you can take some of that video, if you can take some of that video and something tonight and get it down to 3 or 4 minutes and put it up on the website and let the citizens see it and say, by the way, when President Dao's in charge, this is what Vietnam's going to look like. Vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I introduce the last special number of the night, has anyone accidentally picked up a pair of prescription glasses? If you did, they would belong to Colonel Doe. So please kindly return to them. If you don't see clearly with them, then evidently don't keep them. Yes, so I guess we always say save the best for last. This is a dance, second dance, by Mrs. Rhonda Tanherring. And the song is named, I Will Be With You. Please, a round of applause.
President Dow, this song is for you. God loves you so much. And He will always be with you.
Thưa quý vị, màn vũ vừa rồi đã chấm dứt chương trình đại hội chúng ta đêm hôm nay. Xin chân thành cảm ơn tất cả quý vị đồng bào và quan khách đã đến đây tham dự đại hội hôm nay. Sự hiện diện của quý vị hôm nay nói lên sự quan tâm và hỗ trợ cho Việt Nam Tân Dân Chủ và Chính phủ Quốc gia Việt Nam lâm thời trong việc giải thể chế độ Cộng sản Việt Nam. Xin ơn trên phù hộ cho quý vị và quê hương Việt Nam. Xin cảm ơn Thủ tướng Đào Minh Quân và phái đoàn. Trân trọng kính mời tất cả quý quan khách cùng đứng lên cung tiễn Thủ tướng Đào Minh Quân ra về.
On behalf of the Prime Minister and his delegation, we thank everyone for being here today. Your meaningful presence shows your love and support for the new Vietnamese democracy and the PNG of Vietnam in the dissolution of communist regime. Would everyone please rise to give a great round of applause as we bid farewell to the Honorable Prime Minister Đào Minh Quân and his delegation. Thank you and God bless.
Đào Minh Quân anh hùng cứu nguy dân Việt, quên thân mình ngày ngày chung lo việc nước. Một lời thề vì dân chiến đấu, không ngại ngùng vì nước hy sinh cho muôn đời tổ quốc quang vinh. Việt Nam Đào Minh Quân, dân đang chờ ngày vui no ấm, xóa tan bao nỗi lầm than. Việt Nam Đào Minh Quân, xây cơ đồ hồn thiên sông núi, ánh dương lên soi sáng khắp địa cầu.